rise to the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's work session. Happy New Year. Before we get started, we have a little bit of business to enter into. So do I have a motion with respect to a business office recommendation? Rob? Do you have the,
He's gonna need this.
you're going to need that?
Yeah.
Just say as attached. You don't have to read, he doesn't have to read the whole thing, just say as attached. Yes.
Whereas the Board of Education of Eastchester Union Free School District solicited bids for contracts for general construction work, mechanical construction work, and electrical construction work for Phase 4 of the Capital Bond Project. Phase 4 project.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Motion passes. All right, now do I have a motion to enter into the work session? Jackie? Sean, all in favor? All right, we are in a work session, and as typical with our work sessions, we have a presentation. So I would just request that everyone hold off on questions until the end of the presentation.
That wind is something else. Hear that?
So good evening, everyone, members of the community, members of the board. As the precedent is already extended, Happy New Year, Happy 2025. Just a couple of quick items before we get to the presentations. I did want to alert the board and community that on Monday, January the 6th, yesterday, I met with all of the secondary staff at the middle school, high school auditorium to talk about the adjustments that we're making in board policies on Title IX and the new policy of staff-student relations. And I'll be conducting a meeting with our entire elementary faculty, staff, next Monday, January 13th, in order to ensure that all K-12 staff have been alerted to the changes that the board is adopting over last month and this month. Looking at some future board meetings, our next regular meeting on the 21st, we'll say a few words about our plans for accelerated learning programs and our plan to put that into the budget for next year, what that's shaping up to be. There's more work to do, but we'd like to give you an idea of where we're going. On February 4th, we'll have a presentation on the secondary master schedule, progress that's been made there, and commitments for next year and beyond. And on February 25th, we are now at the point of the first budget presentation for the 25-26 school year. So on that note, it's my pleasure to bring forward our assistant to the superintendent, Dr. Bill Meyer. And he has put together a tripartite program that he assures us is so scripted that he will move through it deliberatively over the next hour or so. Okay, so if you give him and his team your full attention. Bill, you're on.
Thank you so much. I first just want to thank the board. I want to thank Dr. Valenti for making this possible, for taking the time for us to discuss and share the work around these district-wide initiatives. And I also want to be sure to thank the teachers, the psychologists, the counselors, and especially the students who are here tonight who will be voices and part of this 3-act play, and share really their own lived experience, because I think no one can speak more clearly and with greater strength to this work than the people who are living it and doing it and breathing it every single day. So very excited about that. I think the other piece really that we'll touch on over the course of this evening is the way in which Eastchester in particular has centered the work of wellness within the district. And I think if you look around, you can hear a lot of discourse and conversation around mental health and wellness and student well-being across the country. But I think what's unique to Eastchester, and something we hope to really accentuate this evening, is the way in which mental health and wellness is embedded and integrated into the conversation around academic rigor and intellectual achievement. Those two things are not separate. In fact, they go hand in hand, and I think that will become evident throughout this presentation. So it is a 3-act play. I think that's the best way to describe it, just so you know what's coming. Just to give you a quick overview, the first part we're going to talk and share the work around Tri-States that started over 18 months ago. We had a revisit with the Tri-States team recently in November. We want to share those updates, the amazing work the counseling department is doing at the high school, where we're at with that piece. That's Act 1. Act 2 is going to look at the work of the child safety team. That's been in the last 3 months. It was referenced just recently in terms of the work and presentations to the faculty and staff yesterday and even before that. And then the last piece is to talk about really the SEL work, Ruler, our peer mentoring program, and the partnerships that we've been able to build and expand upon, which is what supports, I think, the uniqueness of the experience and supports our students in being their best selves. So without further ado, I'm going to invite up Heather Riley, our chair of our high school counseling department, to help me talk a little bit about this Tri-States consultancy. I'm just going to give you a quick background. I'm sure you guys know a lot about Tri-States, but for anyone who's listening at home or not familiar, Tri-States is a consortium of schools that's composed regionally. And really the focus of Tri-States, it's an opportunity for schools to visit other schools around a centering lens. Those lenses can stretch from exploring profiles of a graduate to looking at reading programs at elementary schools. In the case of Eastchester, 18 months ago, a little over 18 months, maybe like 20 some months now, in 2023, there was an initial visit looking at college and career services. Tri-States always asks you to have sort of 3 core questions that are the focus of that visit. In the case of Eastchester, I'd say those lenses, I won't get into the questions, but the lenses focus really around the structures in place within the counseling department. I'd also looked at the services around sort of college and beyond. And the last piece is relationships, which is at the core of both the student experience in high school, but also establishing and setting them up for college and beyond. So that's a quick overview, and I know Heather Riley is going to talk more in depth about the incredible work the department has done in those 3 areas. Heather.
Thank you. Over the past year and a half, the high school counselors and administrators have been working very close, very hard to really incorporate the suggestions from the Tri-States Committee with the already very strong work that we had going on in the high school. None of our work would have been possible without the amazing team of faculty, staff, administrators at Eastchester High School. And in the amount of time we've been working together, we also had some staffing changes. So we had 3 wonderful additions. Adriana, Liz, and Jacqueline have joined our counseling staff, and they brought in really great new energy and ideas. So I want you to see this as such a huge undertaking that it really brought in so many different groups working with us together to make positive change, which was wonderful. And our hard work also would not have been possible without Colleen and Diane, our amazing support staff in the counseling department. And I point this out because I want the teamwork that we've demonstrated through this project to really be a model to students, that when we all work together, look at what amazing things we can achieve. Our work was divided into 3 main groups. We'll begin with the topic of communication. One of the first steps was to set up focus groups with students and parents. In the past, we'd really used surveys as a main way to gather information, but we thought that it would be better to sit down in person and be able to have more in-depth conversations and ask follow-up questions. And these conversations really helped us to identify some different areas to focus on. We took that information from the focus groups and combined it with the suggestions from the Tri-States Committee to create a 2-year action plan that helped us to really be organized and be able to take small steps and large steps with short-term goals and long-term goals. One example of a change that we made to communication that came up both in our focus groups and in the Tri-States report was to change the way that the counseling department was using Google Classroom. Previously, we had been using it in a manner where each counselor set up their own classroom and that counselor students had access to it, but we've moved this year to a format where we have grade level Google Classrooms. So all students are receiving the same information on the same day, which has more consistency to it. As a next step to that, now that we've used this format for a full semester, we're going to follow up either with focus groups or Google Forms to gather information from the students to ask how they feel about what is currently in Google Classroom, if they're happy with being included. Are there other ideas for what they think would be helpful? And in terms of the setup, if they prefer things such as if information is added as material versus an assignment, which to a student is a big difference to make sure they can access the information most easily. We're also very excited that we have a new school website. We've been working kind of on the groundwork to get all of the ideas and the resources that we want to be included. One of the additions, for example, is going to be a series of short videos that came up as a suggestion in our focus groups from the parents. So we're excited, and please look over the next few weeks and months as we take all of those ideas that we have and begin to integrate them into the new website. And hopefully everyone's seen our In the Wing series, which includes several episodes on the work of the guidance department. And Joe Blute did an amazing job really taking the hard work that we do and showing it in a very different way so we could share it with community members. The next area is the high school experience. We've always placed great importance on working closely with the 8th grade students and parents as they transition to the high school. So we took some time to look over the work that we're already doing, combine it with some suggestions made from the Tri-States Committee, and see where there are areas that we could grow or make some changes. So one suggestion that we acted on was that in the spring, when we're helping 8th grade students to select their courses, in the past, students always met with a middle school or high school counselor to select their classes, but it wasn't necessarily the counselor that they were going to be working with throughout high school. So this past spring, we made a great effort to have those students work with the counselor they would be working with moving forward so we could start that relationship earlier. And then we had another transition activity in June, which was part fun, part educational. So students were paired up with the counselor they would be with through high school. And then in August, when we had our orientation, we followed the same format. So that way students had at least 3 opportunities to meet with their high school counselor before beginning high school. So the model worked well, and we definitely want to continue that and build on it. We were also very lucky this year to have an additional counselor join our department. Jacqueline Canisher is a combined transition counselor and school counselor. And one area that she has really been working on was another suggestion from the Tri-States Committee to add more support for our English language learners and their families. So she's made a great effort in many ways throughout the year. Just some examples. In August, right from the start of the school year, when we had our 8th to 9th grade transition orientation activity, she translated the material into multiple languages and made sure that students had all of the material they could need in a way that was best for them. And right now, she's working on a college planning workshop that has the material translated and the resources so that students and families can best access the information they need. And many others examples throughout the year as well, but those were just 2 highlights on what she's been doing that were really great. One of my favorite changes this year was our 10th grade career day. We took the entire 10th grade to a career activity in Valhalla in the morning and then came back to the high school in the afternoon and had a series of discussions and activities. And it really was a huge success, just a very meaningful activity for our 10th graders. And we're so excited about continuing it next year, and we're already coming up with new ideas to add to it. The next area is the college process. Many different directions we're working on. Just a few highlights I'll point out. The counselors have looked over our usage of Naviance Student because though it was always a very valuable part of our program, the Tri-States Committee felt that there were some ways that we could use it more consistently across grade levels. So that was the area that we really focused on. One example is that in preparation for Career Day, we worked with the entire 10th grade on a career interest inventory in Naviance Student. And then for our upcoming 10th grade college planning workshops, we have a built-in activity and component with Naviance Student. So that way, the whole grade, the parents and the students will be having the same access to the activities. Some other areas in the college process, we offered a SAT class over the summer, which had tremendous interest from our students. That was a huge success. And we made an amazing transition from paper to digital testing for the PSAT and SAT, thanks to the great collaboration between the guidance department and the technology department, and that has been a huge help to our students. The counselors have also been participating in professional development in a variety of topics, including college letters of recommendation, SAT, ACT, updates from colleges, changes to the financial aid process, and many more areas. We had a few very successful evening events this year. We had the financial aid night, the college fair, and a wonderful edition of our athletic recruitment presentation. We also increased the number of college admissions counselors that visit Eastchester High School. Previously, it was between 80 and 90 a year, and this year we had approximately 120, and that's a huge advantage to our students. For our annual student meetings, we're currently in the middle of our annual 11th grade college planning workshops, and as soon as those are complete, we'll begin planning our 10th grade college planning workshops with our students and their families. And those are updated annually so that we make sure that the families have the most up-to-date information. And this past spring, another project I'm very excited about, the counselors and the English department began working together. We wanted to find ways that we could collaborate to support students in the college essay writing process. We continued our work all through the summer, and we're excited in September to begin what we call our personal narrative folder project. So students are really exposed to expository writing in English classes throughout high school, whereas the college essay is personal narrative. So we didn't want students to have the first experience writing in the personal narrative style to be in senior year. So what we are doing now is each student creates a shared Google folder with their English teacher and their school counselor, and each time they have an example of personal narrative writing, it will go in that folder, so that over the 4 years, there's a portfolio of work in that style. So we put together many different topics that relate to the novels that are being used in English class, but then putting a twist on it where the characters are thinking in a more personal sense. So we think that's going to be a wonderful long-term project for our students. We know that right now, grades 9 through 11, that's going to give them a long-term benefit, but we didn't want to miss out on our current 12th graders. We wanted to make sure that they had some support this past fall as well. So we also added in our college essay workshops, which Dr. Meyer really did a great job taking the lead on with our students. And we have invited 2 of our students this evening to share some more information about their experience. So I want to thank Cameron Fella and PJ McLaughlin for joining us. And Cameron will join us first.
Hi, my name is Cameron Fella, and I'm going to talk about my essay writing experience. So, as everybody probably knows, the essay writing experience is really time-consuming, thought-provoking, and especially for me, it gave me a lot of anxiety. I started brainstorming what I was going to write at the end of my junior year, and I decided that I wanted to write about my ability to adapt because I transferred schools in like halfway through 6th grade, went to a whole new school, and then started fresh here during my freshman year at Eastchester High School. So I thought that that was a strong, trait of mine, so I thought I would talk about that. And so I was writing over the summer. It was a lot of writing. I had like 4 or 5 drafts at the end, and I was writing supplementals too. It was nonstop. I kept revising and editing going into my senior year, and then I finally got to do the essay workshop with Dr. Meyer, and it really helped me, develop a proper layout and tell the story that I wanted to tell. I'm not particularly good at writing like a narrative type essay. I've been writing research essays my whole life, so this is pretty new. So Dr. Meyer really helped me tell the story that I wanted to tell, and I love the final product. I've gotten into 5 schools so far, including one of my top ones, which was Fairfield University, so I'm really proud of that. Congratulations. Thank you. It's been a really long process, and I'm nearing the end, and it was just so helpful having a lot of guidance with this essay. I had help from my dad, especially Dr. Meyer, and I'm incredibly happy with how it turned out. So, yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is PJ McLaughlin. My college essay started over the summer after I was talking with some friends who go to private school, how they were almost done with their college essays, and that really scared me. So, after that, I went home and I went on YouTube looking up how to write a college essay, and what I've learned was it's very different than everything I've done so far in high school. They really want to stress stuff that's not included on the Common App and personal experiences from your life that make you who you are. My personal essay focused on my work ethic and determination for things that I want to achieve in my life. As senior year progressed, I heard about the college workshops. Going into the college workshops, I was pretty much done with my essay. I knew what I wanted to write about. I had a draft going. I used the workshops mostly to better format it. I wasn't sure exactly what colleges wanted to hear about. I knew about what I wanted to write about. I focused on my job as a caddy and how that I focused on my job as I'm good, thank you. And taught me the importance of work ethic and the determination I needed to save up enough money to buy a car. Mr. Myers really helped me with my grammar and vocabulary in my writing. So far, I've gotten into University of Southern Carolina and Penn State. I'm very grateful for the college essays.
I didn't know about the Penn State. I am a Notre Dame fan. I have to be transparent about that, but we'll talk about that later, Peter. So thank you, all 3 of you, for what you shared, and a big round of applause. Congratulations.
And Dr. Meyer, if I can, just quickly, right before we move into Act 2, Ms. Riley, I want to thank you first and foremost for the presentation tonight. And one thing struck me as you were going through all of the enhancements and the things that we're doing differently. You know, for those of us on the board, it was only a little over a year ago when we actually had a workshop and a retreat on what we were learning from Tri-States and some of the new technologies and enhancements to do within the guidance department. So I want to thank you and thank everyone involved for embracing some of the change here and actually bringing that to our students, because as you guys know, the students always come first. And one thing that really struck me, which is important for everyone to hear, I think one of the challenges that we faced that you very eloquently, again, a little over a year ago, spoke about was the limited number of touch points with the students, just based on time and schedules. And what you laid out here tonight are multiple touch points and increasing that. So again, thank you, and thank you to everyone that's involved. This was actually a great presentation, and there's a lot of change here and more change to come. So thank you very much. This was great.
So the second piece that we wanted to talk a little bit about tonight is a district initiative really that was formed about 3 months ago, and this is the district-wide safety committee. So it's a different set of actors. I'm going to invite them to come up here. We have some health teachers, we have some psychologists, counselors, a wide group of stakeholders who are a part of that committee and who will talk a little bit about the work that's existed, the work that is taking place, and what you can expect going forward. When we put that committee together, there are really 4 tenets that sort of brought structure and intentionality to that work. The first was, how can we enhance student safety? I think we can all agree Students feeling safe, feeling comfortable, that is foundational to learning. They have to feel safe. And this was really a big focus and touch point of the work of the committee. The second is how can we promote those healthy relationships, both peer-to-peer and peer-to-staff. The third piece was looking at policy, something I know the board has taken very seriously, and how do we share those policies and educate staff around the updates to those policies, both to support students but also support staff in having those healthy relationships. And the last piece that we wanted to touch on is how can we be proactive in assessing risks? How can we provide students with platforms and spaces if they need to share concerns, whether it is anonymously or to a trusted adult? So those were sort of the four core tenets of the committee, and then foundational was Aaron's Law. And that's actually what one of our high school health teachers, Kathy Giuliano, is going to speak about tonight.
All right, thank you, Bill. So our goal is to provide our school community with the knowledge and skills to keep students healthy and safe both in person and online. Aaron's Law requires public schools to teach child sexual abuse and exploitation prevention classes. Specifically in New York State, this applies to grades K through 8, but we have incorporated practical and developmentally appropriate lessons into our existing curriculums at the secondary and elementary levels. The goal is for students to recognize healthy, unhealthy, and abusive signs in any types of relationships, and then be able to seek help if they see those unhealthy or abusive signs. Complying with Aaron's Law has been essential in working towards our desired outcomes, one, of course, being addressing the need to prevent the abuse of our students.
At the elementary level, students receive 1 to 2 lessons per year on safety as outlined in Aaron's Law. The lessons use developmentally appropriate language and emphasize both safety and empowerment.
For our youngest learners, the lessons include helping children to be able to differentiate between safe, unsafe, and unwanted touches. We then teach and have students practice the language to use if they don't feel comfortable, specifically to say in a strong voice, "Stop, I don't like that." Finally, children learn to tell a trusted adult and not keep secrets if they feel unsafe. They're given the opportunity to actively brainstorm who these trusted adults are in their life. The heart of these lessons is really to empower students to find their voices and to recognize the value of trusted adults.
And then we wanted to share the secondary lessons as well.
Hi. So in 6th and 7th grade, we utilize the Safer, Smarter Teens curriculum, and this really dives in directly to what Aaron's Law encompasses in New York State. In addition to these specific lessons in 6th and 7th grade, we also touch upon these topics within the rest of our 6th and 7th grade curriculum.
And I teach 8th and 10th grade health or high school health, and we cover the same topics: healthy and safe relationships, sexual abuse, personal boundaries and consent, sources of support, and the importance of seeking support if needed. The topics are the same within 8th grade and high school, but we dive deeper at the high school level.
And then a unique piece of the middle school guidance department is this additional supporting curriculum that we'll share here.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Tommy Finks, and I'm the building-wide guidance counselor at the middle school. So along with the guidance department collaborating with the health teachers during the Safer, Smarter Teens lessons, I have a very special role where I push into classrooms once a month to see every single student in the middle school. The curriculum is guided by New York State Department of Education, as well as the National School Counselors Association, along with tenants from Ruler and the Dialectical Behavior Therapy. What is so incredible about this position is being able to work with each student every month during these lessons, because these lessons support the academic, social, emotional, and college career domains of the student experience. The topics covered consist of DASA, being an upstander, dialectical thinking, as well as many others. We're constantly stressing the importance of advocating for yourself, using real-life examples when students might need to do so. We spend so much time talking about being an upstander, whether that means for yourself or for those around you. We discuss the dangers of online communication while reminding students not to talk to strangers and what proper communication with teachers look like. Another topic that constantly comes up through these lessons is speaking to a trusted adult when you see, feel, or hear something that doesn't feel right. Students are always asked to think about trusted adults in their lives and encouraged to speak up to them when something doesn't feel right. In summary, most, if not all of these lessons are related to student empowerment and finding their voice. Being able to see students once a month for all 3 years when he or she is at the middle school allows us to constantly reinforce all of these topics while keeping lines of communication open between the students and the guidance staff. I'm able to build a relationship with every student in the school on top of the relationship that they're already building with their grade level counselor. Lastly, these monthly lessons allow us to build a strong foundation of emotional support and emotional knowledge that we as a class are able to build on each of the next times that we see each other. Seeding these concepts and understandings in the middle school only helps to serve students to feel empowered and being their best selves as they move through the middle school, high school, and beyond.
Thank you, Tommy. And then the last piece we wanted to also touch on is the next steps as the committee saw it.
So looking ahead, we've focused on utilizing resources to expand our K-12 curriculum. Our goal is to update our policies and ensure that staff and students are aware of these updates. We want to leverage anonymous reporting systems like we did with the Sandy Hook Promise expansion, and we want to ensure that we provide meaningful and robust professional development for our staff. These next steps are going to be crucial to sustaining and advancing this important work that we are all so passionate about.
Yeah, I think a big round of applause is owed to these educators. I mean,
Before we dismiss this great group, I want to ask you a question, if I may. Say something, right? If you see something, say something. Are we teaching our youngest children to do that? I heard many of you allude to it. Would you want to comment? I'm uncomfortable in this situation. Does the child say something? How do we teach them that? Are you comfortable with teaching them at the earliest levels to express themselves? Please, anyone. The microphone is yours. Yeah.
At the 8th and high school levels, we go over in health education skills, right? Content is important, but skill development is the main focus in health. So we focus heavily on tips for setting boundaries. What does that look like, right? How do you stand up for yourself if something doesn't feel right? What are some things you can say? And that not only applies in this unit, but other units like drug education as well. So they have the opportunity to practice setting boundaries and communication skills in multiple lessons.
I'm going to hound you at the elementary level. This is Waverly, right?
Yes, we're from Waverly, so
What's nice is that we push into the classrooms every month. So from day one, we're in there talking to them about our job. We're our role as feelings teacher at Waverly. So our topics are a lot about feelings. We talk about comfortable and uncomfortable feelings and what it feels like inside your body, and then how to express yourself when you're feeling, either comfortable or uncomfortable. So when it comes to the lesson and talking about maybe feeling unsafe, we were able to link that to feeling uncomfortable. When you have that feeling that's an uncomfortable feeling, it doesn't feel right, then what can you do? And we do a lot of, at the younger level, a lot of role playing, a lot of practicing. So we teach them, what does a strong voice even sound like? Bringing it down that, let's practice it. So we model it, and then we have the children practice together, and then we use the words, and we have them, follow. And I think with a repetition, with children, we have to revisit. And so, we're going to be revisiting this, several times a year, and then they hear, the next year as well. And I think the fact that we build that relationship with them, and they have that comfort level, and really able to link those, understanding their feelings, and then expressing themselves, and feeling empowered to speak up when you are uncomfortable, whether it's in a school situation with other students, or with, a potential situation that could be.
Now, do you begin this as early as kindergarten?
We do.
yes.
Yeah.
And also the students are able to identify trusted adults, which is extremely important. So even at the kindergarten level, I had a student say, oh, I could tell a friend's parent. So they even understand that concept, that it's not just your family member, it's not just your parent that you can tell, but it's any of the adults at school. It can be a doctor, it could be another community helper, or, you know, a friend's parent. So they're taught, you know, what to say and how to recognize an uncomfortable feeling. And
How early in the school year do you begin this?
so we just did our first lesson this past December, and then we'll be revisiting in May. And we'll be using a different curriculum,
December and May.
December and May, yes.
It's
K1.
important to build up to, just them
Yes.
understanding even their own feelings, to be able to understand what to differentiate between the comfortable and uncomfortable feeling, to have an understanding of that, to then really understand, you know, the nature of when I'm feeling this way.
Again, I'm going to take responsibility for beating it to death. Grades 2 to 5, do you want to comment on some of the same questions?
Yeah, and I think, Dr. Valenti,
Yeah.
Dr. Valenti, if I could, while grades 2 to 5, you know, come up and talk, I also think it would be good to know, you know, obviously there's a cadence of when this is being pushed into the classrooms and you guys are going through it, but I also think it would be helpful to know, just based on current events or things that are happening in the world, is that then something that prompts you kind of off that cadence or off that schedule to then have a larger conversation with the kids?
I was going to speak to actually more of like in the beginning of the year, how kind of our order of topics and objectives that we teach throughout the curriculum. We use Second Step. I'm the school counselor. So kind of going back into the child safety, we teach bullying too. So that's also kind of in the synchronization of building up to some of the skills that we work on with them. So teaching upstander, teaching, you know, of course, identifying a trusted adult. But being able to actually stand up for yourself, and I use the word, I teach what it means to be assertive. So that kind of is in the order of like, you know, understanding like uncomfortable, comfortable feelings. Again, that's also tied into Ruler, which is what we're teaching too with the mood meter. And then that's also embedded into our Second Step curriculum that we're teaching throughout the year.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the really powerful things to remember is this committee first met for the first time in November. And in those conversations, what became clear was not only the commitment that each of these individuals have to this work, but the ways in which the work complements itself and aligns over time. And already they've made changes in terms of the timing of when things are taught, but there's great intentionality around teaching a set of skills that's transferable, that deepens over the course of a student's experience K to 12. And I think you can hear that both in the way they articulate these responses, but you'll also see, as was referenced, the way in which it weaves into the work around Ruler, the way it weaves into the conversations with the counselors. So all of these pieces first had to be sort of analyzed, recognized, audited, and then now the work is to think, how do we deepen it? How do we strengthen it? But I can't think of a better team to do this work, and I can't think of a better team to be a part of who's more committed to it. So I think we're very, very fortunate in that regard, and I hope that is evident tonight. So thank all of you for taking the time this evening.
And Dr. Meyer, again, I'm going to just interject for 2 very quick seconds as you move on to Act 3. You know, what I will say for those of you watching at home, and I think a round of applause to this group probably doesn't do enough justice for all that they do. The way all of you guys are ingrained in these schools, just as a dad and a parent, I think everyone pretty much knows I have kids in a bunch of different schools, and I see someone standing up there right now that I know knows my kids, knows the majority, if not all the kids in the school, and they've really become a fabric in that school and become another trusted adult within those buildings. And we're seeing that come home as parents, and we're hearing that in terms of anti-bullying that you touched on, standing up for yourself, being assertive, and even as a parent, there are things that have come home that you can then use as tools, whether your child is experiencing anxiety or they need a break from something. So thank you guys very much for what you're doing. And I would just say to the question that I had, I think, you know, unfortunately, there's so much that goes on in the world, and I understand there's a cadence and a curriculum that's followed, but I think those teachable moments in real time are super important, and I know you guys are on top of that, but as things are happening and occurring, I think the more we can do in real time, we know attention spans are at an all-time low. Kids have, I know at least my kids, not everybody's kids, have very little attention span. I think in real time, reinforcing kind of the trusted adult. If you see something, hear something, say something in real time, in the moment, and pushing that down, I think that's going to benefit all of us. So that's my very long-winded way of saying thank you guys for everything that you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, well said. And I think that really speaks to this last piece and sets us up nicely, because when you think about this sort of second part that we touched on in terms of child safety, students have to feel safe, but the other piece, deeper learning, is they have to feel connected. And they have to often feel connected to their teachers, to their peers, and to the curriculum. And I think the last piece that we wanted to touch on are the initiatives that are taking place across the district to deepen that sense of connection, to self, to other, to learning. And so the presenters today are both old and young. Well, maybe I'm the oldest, probably am, so I shouldn't speak to anyone's age. But they're going to talk a little bit about what we're doing in terms of the curriculum, where we're at in terms of Ruler, the incredible peer mentoring programs that we're already rolling out at the elementary level. And then lastly, we'll talk a little bit about future possibilities, which are really, really exciting. So I'll pass it over to my experts.
Hi, good evening. I'm Stephanie Stone. I'm the school counselor at Ann Hutch. So Ruler is an evidence-based framework to support social emotional learning, and that is one of the frameworks that we use at the elementary level. And the goal of it is to help students and educators regulate, understand, label, express, and then regulate their emotions. These are skills that are foundational for success in school and beyond. So one of the key tools that we use is the mood meter. Every single student from K to 5 and beyond engages with the mood meter every single day on a daily basis. It's a simple but powerful visual tool that helps students to identify and name their emotion in the moment. And by doing this regularly, students develop a greater self-awareness and emotional vocabulary, which are critical tools for emotional regulation. We work closely with teachers to ensure that they are comfortable integrating the mood meter into their daily practices, whether it's during morning meeting or while reading a story and character development, transitions, or just reflective moments throughout the day. And this consistent practice creates shared language around emotions throughout the entire school and across the district. Another component of Ruler is something called the meta moment, and I'm out of order. That's okay. Is the meta moment, and the meta moment is a strategy that we teach students to use to kind of pause, breathe, label their emotion, and think before responding to challenging situations. And it helps to manage their reactions, make thoughtful choices that align with their best self and their values. Teachers are also empowered to model and encourage this practice, which fosters a supportive environment for emotional growth. And then the last component that we really worked on this year was something called the Classroom Charter. So every single classroom has collaboratively created a classroom charter, and this outlines how students and teachers want to feel in their learning environments at school and the behaviors that will support these feelings. So how we want to feel and what we can do to feel this way. The process of developing the charter fosters a sense of belonging and community in itself, and it helps students to take ownership over their classroom and their learning, and it strengthens just the classroom community. It's been really rewarding to see Ruler in practice every day and watching our school climate and our school culture kind of transform using the Ruler framework. Students are becoming more aware of their emotions, better able to handle and respond to situations, feel more connected to one another, and teachers feel that they're more equipped to support their students' emotional needs, which in turn enhances learning outcomes. So thank you for your support in integrating this framework into our schools. It's been really great to see, and thanks for letting me speak about it.
So we have a little highlight reel to show you guys of Ruler. My name is Bill Meyer. I'm the assistant to the superintendent of student staff services, and I oversee Ruler here at Eastchester School District. Ruler is a framework for implementing, supporting, and understanding social emotional learning within the context of a school. It really looks at emotions as a foundational component of deep learning. And when students feel emotionally connected, supported, cared for, that's when they can really thrive as learners and thinkers.
Hi, I'm Rachel Lepore. I'm the school counselor at Greenvale. And here at Greenvale, we have implemented the Ruler program to all of our students and staff. We have introduced the mood meter, so every classroom has had an introduction to our 4 colors and really how they're able to connect to identifying a feeling with a certain color.
In the morning, when we have our morning meeting, what we'll do is we'll have our mood meter up on the board and we will look at the mood meter and share our feelings.
The mood I would usually be in the beginning of the day would probably be calm or sleepy, and by the end of the day, it would usually just be happy.
Hi, my name is Tommy Pfingst. I'm a middle school guidance counselor, and I'm one of the members on the Ruler implementation team. So Ruler is a framework for students and staff to really understand the importance of emotions in the school building. And the bottom line for Ruler is that emotions are important and emotions do matter and emotions do affect the way that students and teachers are able to progress through their day.
The beautiful thing about Ruler is it's not a prescription as much as it is a compass in offering direction and support for schools and districts to think about the place of supporting social emotional learning within the classroom. Who have taken Ruler to the next level and made it part of the fabric of the community at the schools. And you can already, as was mentioned, see the impact of that. But there's so many other pieces, and we wanted to just touch on 2 other key components which have really deepened that sense of community and connection. So the first is some of the program that we offer at Ann Hutch.
Hi, I'm Dana Mosca. I'm one of the school psychologists at Ann Hutch, and I run the Community Connections program. So the Community Connections program was formerly called the Peer Mentoring Program, and it's a long-standing program focused on building our Ann Hutch community and promoting inclusion among all students. Heart Helpers are recommended by their teachers to build connections with students of differing abilities by engaging with them at recess and during monthly classroom activities. This program provides students within special education classrooms the opportunity to practice social and communication skills, as well as build relationships with peers in other classrooms. These relationships often extend beyond the program, such as at lunch, recess, or in extracurriculars such as band and orchestra. Similarly, this experience allows our Heart Helpers to develop their leadership skills while building empathy and openness. Overall, the program aims to promote inclusivity and build relationships within the school community and into our Eastchester community.
Now, the next piece, we saved the best for last. We brought in some of the big guns in terms of our presenters. They stayed up extra late. This is past their bedtime. So I want a lot of respect and attention for these individuals. But we wanted to talk a little bit about the peer mentoring program we also have at Greenvale.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rachel Lepore, and I am the school counselor at Greenvale. So in addition to the various social emotional learning programs we offer, I'd like to highlight another value of support at Greenvale that has proven to be effective in fostering the social emotional development for our elementary students. 3 years ago, I launched a peer mentoring program at Greenvale where 4th grade students who are recognized as positive role models by their teachers work closely with our 2nd and 3rd graders during recess time. Mentors play a vital role in creating a positive, inclusive environment for younger students by offering one-on-one assistance, supporting small groups, or leading larger activities such as sports and games. The goal of our peer mentoring program are to cultivate positive peer relationships, strengthen social connections, and boost self-esteem among all students. Additionally, the program seeks to model essential skills that promotes social-emotional growth while fostering a strong sense of community and inclusivity. This year, we introduced a new process that empowers students to advocate for themselves by completing an application and participating in an interview process. Due to the strong interest in the program, we have nearly doubled the number of students accepted. With the support and collaboration of our assistant principal, Ms. Nikai, we aim to further expand the program's impact, benefiting all students involved and ensuring its continued success. So now I'd like to introduce and give a warm welcome to Juliana Fortuno and Bradley Bergschneider, who are currently peer mentors and will tell us about their experiences and their positive impact on our school community.
Hi, my name is Juliana Fortuno, and I'm proud to be a peer mentor at Greenvale School. My favorite thing about peer mentoring is that I get to help second graders make friends and remind them to be safe, kind, and responsible. When I'm outside helping the second graders, I feel happy and excited to know that I make a difference and that I'm a friendly face to the younger students. Peer mentoring taught me how to be a leader and to always help out others in need. I'm grateful to have this opportunity to be a peer mentor, and I hope other students also want to be one in 4th grade too. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bradley Bergschneider, and I'm excited to share with you about the peer mentoring program and why it has been such a positive experience for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders. I remember when I was a 2nd grader and loved when the 4th graders would come outside and play with us at recess. I saw how they were leaders by being good role models and helping with student conflicts. I thought to myself that I would want to become a peer mentor when I was in 4th grade, and it motivated me over the years to show empathy, help friends in need, and to be safe, be kind, and be responsible as we follow the 3 B's every day. Peer mentoring has been a really fun experience, and it makes me feel exhilarated when the students look forward to seeing us. Being a peer mentor is something I will always remember, and it has made my time at Greenvale so much more memorable. Thank you.
So another big round of applause. That was great. Thank you so much. I think the mistake I made was actually trying to follow that. So lesson learned for next time. But this is sort of the last piece that we wanted to touch on, and thank you to the parents as well for supporting their children and the voices and what was shared tonight. I think the last piece, and this is sort of the closing and the vision to think about going forward, and probably some of the most exciting aspects of the work, is you get the sense of how rich and vast what is taking place in the district and what's going on in the district is happening just over the last 18 months. But then the question is really, where do we go from here? And I think some of the ideas and possibilities are very exciting. If you look at the ways in which we first began this conversation, thinking about mental health as a central piece and tenet to supporting students in their academic success, complementing that with a center or a centering source in which we can support students academically, but also in terms of their well-being, is an incredibly exciting opportunity. So one of those pieces and visions that's come up in the conversations is the possibility for a student outreach and research center. And this would be a place and center that brings together all of these different components in a way that integrates them and embeds them in the curriculum. The first piece, and this has been an ongoing conversation, is how do we sort of bridge some of our counseling services for students who might have additional needs? And this is the clinical component. And up to this point, we've had conversations with WJCS and outside organizations about providing that clinical support. We've engaged with the county about funding for that support, as well as the state through the RECOV grant. And that's an exciting clinical component that could help support our students beyond just the scope of the school day. The other piece that we sort of imagined in these conversations is thinking about ways of sort of innovating on the curriculum. I think there's some exciting possibilities taking place at the high school, and we've discussed this in terms of AP Capstone, AP Research, AP Seminar. These are really research-based experiences, and leveraging a center of this nature for students to have the opportunity, whether it's presenting at Symposium, TEDx Eastchester, or even a Summer Leadership Institute, to deepen work and understanding around reflection, around wellness, but also the ways in which is embedded in the research process. The other most amazing thing, I can speak to my own experience in just these 6 months being a part of this district, is the community. I mean, you often hear Eastchester, the strength of the community is the community, but I can't overstate that, particularly in the number of organizations that reside here within this community that are interested, engaged in supporting us in this work. From the CARE Coalition, the Harris Project, the JCK Foundation, the Leukemia Foundation. I mean, these are opportunities in a way in which we can organize and think about this comprehensively and in an aligned way that supports students both in their mental well-being, their connection to community, but also their service. And the last component, which I think is an exciting one, and we can start to see sort of the emergence of this, is our partnership with universities and other research institutions. We have just an emerging partnership with Long Island University, but even more recently, White Plains Hospital has offered us several positions and spots for our students to be part of a tutorial program. This spring, we've had a number of applicants for that program. We're excited to give students really an in-depth and rich experience at a hospital, in an institution, experiencing the things that they're learning firsthand. So this is sort of what I would imagine is the future possibilities. I mean, we've just heard this breadth of work that's going on, and thinking about going forward, how do we bring this together in a comprehensive and coherent way is really, I think, the next step. So I'll end on that note. I really can't thank enough everyone who took the time out of their evening to present tonight, as the staff, the students, and the educators. So thank you, thank the board, and thank Dr. Valenti for your time. Thank you.
I want to thank Dr. Meyer and his entire team. This was, quite frankly, a fantastic effort, and you deserve kudos supreme. Okay, thank you. And thank you all for being part of the work we saw tonight. I think so much came together. I don't want to steal the thunder of the board. I don't know if the board members have any questions that you'd like to ask these folks before we end our meeting, but they shed so much light. I want to thank the board for supporting Bill's position in the budget. Yeah. It's a new, innovative position, and it speaks to a broad range of curriculum and social emotional investment that is so critical today. So thank you for supporting that position, and we will continue to strengthen that position as we go forward. We're open to comments and questions.
Matt?
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Christine. I just have one question. I think, Dr. Meyer, just to echo some of Dr. Valenti's sentiment, I mean, this was fantastic tonight. You are such a great addition to our district, and I think I speak on behalf of the entire board in thanking you for all of the work that you're doing with the staff here to bring some of these innovative ideas to our district. The one question that I do have is, we spoke a lot tonight about ruler and SEL at the elementary level. And aside from interventive services at the secondary level, can you speak a little bit more about at the secondary level? Are there applications for ruler, SEL, more there? Because I think, one thing that we've unpacked really as a board is that all of that good work needs to be continued. And sometimes, we tend to take for granted that when a student is in 7th grade, 8th grade, 10th grade, what have you, that they already have the capacity to do some of these things. So I'm just curious, can you speak a little bit to kind of secondary level with some of these programs?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the real challenge, and there's a couple pieces here at the secondary level which make it a challenge, but also for potential possibility. One is time. And I think it was alluded to early on at the very beginning of this board meeting, a later meeting that will address issues around time, really, in terms of the schedule. And to do this work meaningful at a secondary level, particularly at the high school, I mean, what's unique about the middle school, and Tommy had referenced this, is his position allows for this ability to come in and to complement the work of the counseling. At the high school level, you're really looking, you've got to envision either some type of advisory program which offers this, which you have to be creative in the way in which that exists. But also you're looking for like peak experiences. So Heather had referenced this idea of the 10th grade went on this day-long exploration of careers. And what you want to start to think about at the high school is like, how can you create more peak experiences where you might not have the possibility to go into every classroom on a day-to-day basis, right, and providing lessons around ruler. You can obviously build the capacity of the staff through professional development, but you want to think about things like in the summer, do you offer leadership institutes? Do we have like a robust peer mentoring program at the secondary level where students are trained and then sort of turnkeying those ideas? So I've had a lot of conversations with the administration, both at the middle and the high school, and I know that is front of mind. And as we sort of bring up students through the system, I mean, their capacity for this work is going to far exceed what we currently have. So there's definitely a demand, there's an interest in thinking about that, both in terms of scheduling time, embedding it into classes. I think that's where actually AP Capstone's like an exciting, innovative component where you have a very rigorous course, but offers the capacity for reflection, connection. Like, you're not going to have deep, engaged conversations around peer work unless students trust each other, unless they know how to listen to one another, unless they know how to connect to themselves, be reflective and critical and self-critical. So all of this feeds on itself, and I can see this having a place within the curriculum, but also the broader schedule as it moves forward.
Got it, thank you. I think that's helpful just in terms of some of the work that the board is doing in looking at any potential modernization, if you will, of the schedule to account for some of these things. Because, you know, one thing you mentioned, you know, peer mentoring, we just heard a great story implementing some of that at the secondary level, specifically, you know, for some of our most at-risk students and even students that are transferring into the district where maybe they don't have a friend group or there isn't a group, you know, and it goes back to we never want any kids sitting alone at the lunch table. So I think, you know, that's actually well pointed, you know, for us as we look at potential modernization of the secondary schedule. Thank you.
Any other questions from our board members? This is a board workshop, so it's restricted to board comment and questions.
I don't have any additional questions, but I just want to echo a lot of the comments that I think it was a great presentation. I think from Bill, your leadership and the team of what they've done, it's just really encouraging to see the amount of work that you're able to do, even prior to you getting here, but what you've been able to add to it and the team's been able to implement has been great to see. So I look forward to the continued updates and as my kids continue to progress throughout, you know, elementary school to middle school and on, it's great to see that these opportunities are available to them.
And I was just going to add that it's unbelievable what can be accomplished if I call it sticking to the knitting of really, you know, understanding what Tri-States actually came forward with, dissecting that data, and really trying to figure out how to apply it here at East Chester within our construct. And I'm amazed at just the great work that's been accomplished, and just the incremental steps of progress to hear from the students on the college workshop. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, really great. Glad that you had the opportunity to join that workshop. So I mean, I just want to applaud the effort and looking forward to just hearing the results of more steps taken to pull it all together, to continue on this venture. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Right. Again, thanks, Bill. The presentation was fantastic. And that SOAR Center is such an innovative concept. hopefully this is something that we can get off the ground running, and we really do look forward of how it's going to succeed in the future.
Right, and to that point, there will be constructive recommendations in the budgetary process, both with respect to Dr. Meyer's reference to the Student Research Center that he placed before us, as well as some of the other programs you heard tonight. We'd like to see them strengthened and embellished in a one-year or multi-year plan. So we're already considering that within the budgetary process. So I want to thank the board, and I'll go back, conclude our report, and turn the meeting over to the president. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Valenti. And again, thank you everyone who spoke. So as we noted earlier, this is a workshop, so there isn't any public comments. So we are now up to our future meeting dates. So our next regular board meeting will be on January 21st, followed by a February 4th work session. And with that being said, do I have a motion to adjourn? Sean, do I have a second? Jackie, all in favor? Great. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Have a good night.